Alex, thanks for joining us. It was a terrible day yesterday. We saw, if you were long anyway, I mean, we saw that 4% drop back. But why was the Hang Seng, in particular, the worst performer?
The past 2 days, we've seen a lot of forced selling in the market. I think there are a lot of people, who have bought structured products or who have bought stock with margin, and they failed to top up their margin, so they were forced to cut their positions. And also, there has been a lot of foreigners in this market. Apart from hedge fund, there are also a lot of foreign long-only guys. And when there's a crisis in their home country, very naturally, they want their money to stay with them, to stay at home.
So it's an exodus of capital, is what you're saying as well?
Yeah, it's basically capital flow, is money outflow from Hong Kong.
Right, but it doesn't really at the moment stack up next to the fundamentals of the Hong Kong economy, does it?
Right now, I think it's very difficult to use fundamental analysis, to analyze the market. Ever since the downgrade of the U.S. credit rating by S&P 2 months ago, we've seen the market has been moving in line with the macro news. What's worse is that the macro environment has been interfered by a few policymakers around the world. So visibility of the macro environment is very low. So when you talk about fundamental, at least you have to forecast what's the earning for the company next year. However, with the low visibility, what can you foresee? For instance, the Macau gaming sector.
Terrible time of it yesterday. I mean.
Yeah, exactly. You look at the revenue growth of the gaming. It has been in good growth the past 2 months, even during the crisis 2 months period.
40% plus exactly. On a year-on-year basis.
So this is not the point now. The point is next year. What will happen next year? And no one can tell what will happen next year. That's their uncertainty. And under this uncertain situation, investors just take their money back first.
You say in a macro point of view, because as I say, that nobody knows what's going to happen next year, or next week, in fact. Mm-hmm. So, what happens, where do we go down to on the Hang Seng before we get these shorts squeezed and we have a big, big jump up?
I think it's dangerous to guess a bottom. The current situation is driven by money flow, greed and fear. Market is in a fear mode, and a lot of forced selling. It's like 208. I think a lot of investors are looking at the bottom of 208 level as a benchmark for this time to bottom pick. So last time the Hang Seng Index bottomed at around 11,000 to 12,000 level, and I think a lot of investors will bottom pick around there. However, we haven't seen the capitulation yet, and this is the last leg of the market. So I think eventually it will go below that.
So we might have a little bit of a bounce, but then you foresee another down leg. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, exactly. The stock will not move in a straight line. There will be bounce and go up and down, but eventually it will go lower. Okay,
let's talk about what you've been focusing on in terms of some of the equities that you're buying right now. I mean, I noticed, for instance, that we've got Hong Kong property stocks on the way up this morning now.
I think right now, as I mentioned, we don't. At this moment, this market is a trader's market. It's not a fundamental market. So you have to go with the money flow, news flow, and psychology. So we are positioning ourselves to be very low growth and net exposure. We want to be very nimble to trade the market rather than focusing on any sector, stock picking, because right now alpha generation is more difficult. So I think right now, if I see the bottom, the market is bouncing in the short term, I may buy some stocks which has a slightly better chance to bounce.
Alex, very quickly here, you're also an investor in Korea on the Kospi. Now, terrible day of it there. Why again has the Kospi been singled out? I mean, we had, of course, I think it's playing catch up because it was closed yesterday too.
I think the whole Asian region is looking at Hong Kong right now. So obviously Korea there's a catch up from yesterday. However, if Hong Kong there's a bounce today, there may be a short squeeze in the short term. If there's a bounce, the whole region will follow. However, what we see today is if you look at S&P close last night, which is 1099.23, which was exactly the level of 3 years ago at the 3rd of October.
Remarkable, isn't it, the coincidence?
Yeah, this is unbelievable. So I think more and more people will start to compare the current prices to 208.
But you can't, can you?
This is a psychology game. The stock market is psychology. So even though it doesn't make sense, but a lot of people are doing this.
Very quickly, Alex, you've increase your exposure to Japan. Why? I think you've gone from 5 to 15% there.
Well, that was a while ago, not right now.
Right.
I think right now everywhere in the region, we are lowering our exposure. We are holding more cash. As I mentioned, we are more nimble, so maybe tomorrow we will increase our exposure, but it's day by day.